Hi, my name is Robert. This video is designed to give you step-by-step detailed instructions on completing the task at hand. Please read the description area of this video to get valuable information and updates. My YouTube channel has a disclaimer video, and if for some reason you need to contact me, I include that information at the end of the video. You can follow me on other social media apps, and thank you for watching. Have a great day. Welcome to this edition of Throwback Thursday, where I take a video that I filmed some time ago and remix it and update it so that you can know all of the current processes that I take in getting that job done. This one in particular is a steering rack job. I do a few things different, so it's going to be a good update. Now, a couple things you want to know is, man, these jobs usually cost in excess of $1,000 to do, and it's a gamble using a new steering rack. Nobody really wants to use an old steering rack, but people are having more success with used ones than they are new ones. So just hold tight there. Hopefully you'll come out with a good one. One of my guys went through 2 new steering racks before he took an old steering rack that I gave him that's lasted longer than both of the new ones he had. So that's something to keep in mind. Another thing is, I've changed the way I take the steering rack off the car. I no longer disconnect the joint between the steering rack and the steering column under the car. I take that loose inside the car and pull the whole joint out with the steering rack so that I don't have to wrestle with that thing that's in the engine bay. I put it on the bench, take it off then. Another thing, you want to be extra careful when taking off those fluid lines. They can be stiff and hard, and occasionally, maybe 1 out of 10, I'll have to cut it off. So be prepared to have that car sit while you get a new line if that happens to you. The last but not least tough thing I'm starting to run into with some cars that have rust is the subframe being stuck to the car. The left rear subframe one closer to the driver's door, man, I've had to put some serious heat on one of those to get that thing to bust loose, and you may end up replacing a subframe bushing or something along that lines if that thing gets stuck on there. So don't be surprised if you run into those issues. Let's get started. I'm going to replace the steering rack. It's leaking pretty bad. Let's get started. Pop the hood, reach down here and pull a hood release. Hold that for a couple seconds. Make sure the hood pops, because these P80 cars has issues with that. Let's see if it popped, and it did. And I'm gonna put an engine support brace in here. I got a video linked in the description area to show you how to do that. When you're in a low ceiling space like this, it may be beneficial to remove the hood. I'm gonna try to do it without it. Have the engine support bar on there. Not pulling the engine in any direction in particular. If you can't support the engine from up top, you need to support it from underneath. So you want an engine support brace, or you want a cherry picker. Last option is to support it from the bottom, like I'm gonna show you here. Don't want to crack your oil pan. You could put some weight on the oil pan, just disperse it real well. Maybe 2 jacks would be better than 1. We're going to support the engine from down here. We are resting the engine on this support here, 2 jacks, not lifting it, just resting it on there. Next, I'm going to jack the car up, put the jack stands under it, and pull the wheels. Since these are aftermarket wheels, I'm gonna go ahead and break the lug nuts loose while it's on the ground, because your normal size socket normally doesn't fit inside the bases. So I may not be able to use a 1/2-inch sockets to break the lug nuts loose with the impact gun. So I'm gonna go ahead and break them loose now. If you have a good to decent floor jack, I jack the vehicle up by the subframe, making sure it's hooked on the back of it so it doesn't slide off. Make sure your jack is in a position where it can roll. This jack is moved 6 inches. These wheels started out about here. It's rolling while it's jacking up. Get it up high enough, get jack stands under the framage of the car. Let me set those up so you can see where those go. I got the jack stands under there, and I lowered the floor jack a little bit. I'm probably going to put it under here just to keep it in position. Let me show you where I put these floor jacks. Of course, you want your jack stands so that your handles are out where you can get a hold to them. And you put your floor jacks up here where this pinch weld is for the frame of the car. That way you can get your subframe stuff loose. Next, I'm gonna go ahead and remove the tires. I got them loose. I'm gonna remove them, slide them under the car in mid-body. I have the wheels off. These wheels have hub-centric rings, so you make sure you don't lose those. Next, I'm gonna knock the bowl joints loose out here on the outer tie rod ends. So I'm gonna remove this bolt and knock these loose. Probably need a sledgehammer to do that. I got that out. I had to lubricate it and heat it and beat it with the sledgehammer. Now I'm gonna try to take this loose here. I lubricated them, we'll put a little heat on it. They haven't been in there long, they should come right off. You can see the boot was torn on that inner tie rod. I'm gonna go to the other side and take that loose and that loose. So I put a couple of drops of penetrant oil or anything I'm gonna loosen. A couple drops there, and I already put some here and here. And because we have rust, I'm gonna put some heat on that, but it really don't look like it's gonna need it. The other side I did have to heat it. If you hit it 20 times and it don't pop loose, put some heat on it. So you knock it loose with the impact gun or whatever tool you have. Then you start beating it with the hammer right here on the end of it until that thing pops out. Still didn't come loose. You can put this on the threads and tap it up just to check it. There it goes, it popped loose. Put the nut back on it. Now you're gonna put the tool on that, bust that loose. It came right loose. I hadn't put these on too long ago. I'm gonna pry this down with a pry bar, put the nut back on there. Use the pry bar to pry the anti-sway bar down so that you can push that out of there. And put the nut on there so you don't lose it. Now you're ready to take the bolts loose from the steering rack, but you want to do the inside first. I used to try to take that knuckle loose down there, but I've learned that that's too hard of a task, getting that off while it's in the car. But you do want to take a good look down here and see which way things are routed in front of or behind the steering rack knuckle piece there, so that when you raise it back up to install it, you do not run things in the wrong direction and have them rubbing against the steering rack pieces. So I come inside the car and I take the joint loose in here. Right there, you got a 13 millimeter, and on the 850s you got a 10 on one side, 13 on the other. Take that loose and release it from the steering column neck, and then when you take the steering rack loose under the car, you just pivot that through the floor, man. It is much easier doing it that way. So I normally take the steering wheel loose and pull it back toward the back of the car before I do that. I stick the key in the ignition, unlock the steering wheel, and I turn it so that the bolt is where I can get at it real easy. Then I take that bolt out and go from there. Remove the nut, tap the bolt out, and you should be able to wiggle this thing out of here. Or you just drop the subframe and it'll come out. So now it's loose. Now if this steering wheel is unlocked, this steering wheel will spin around 360 degrees if it's not attached to that, so that's no problem. Next, I'm gonna break all the bolts loose to lower the subframe. I got 2 14s here, 18 here. Then I got this bolt on top of this side kick mount here. That's what I call it, a side kick mount. On the top, that'll let you lower the subframe down. That also adjusts the height of the engine. Make sure you're not resting on this mount over here, which it looks like this one is. So this probably needs to be adjusted up when I put this back in. So I'll lower the subframe, raise that bolt up a little bit, raise this bolt up, and that'll pick this transmission up off of that mount right there. Really shouldn't be resting on that bump stop. Next thing I did was pull the 14mm out of the rear hydraulic engine mount right there. Let me go ahead and loosen those bolts. Then I'm gonna take the bolts loose from the rack, which I have a bolt there, a nut there, 2 here, and 2 on the other side. I don't recommend you use a impact for those because it might break the cast nuts loose, the vibrations. Okay, you got another 18mm one there, it looks like, which I think it just has a guard. So let me go ahead. 2 15s, that one, and then the 2 15s on the other side. Then I'm gonna do that nut there and these subframe bolts. I got that bolt removed all the way. I took the 4 bolts out of the end of the rack, but this bolt here that goes in the rack support there is spinning. So I'm gonna take the side bolt out, and then I remove the subframe bolt. So the rack and the subframe did fall about 3 inches, which is good. Lets me know it's not stuck to the bottom of the car. So let me go ahead, take that bolt loose, then I'm gonna work on getting the lines loose. Now we can reach the lines on the rack. After you get the top line out, you're gonna have to push it real hard to get it out of the way. Check the seal. If the seal's bad, you're gonna have to go get new seals. And then I'm gonna go ahead and break this one loose. It's a 19. My small adjustable jaw wrench has been able to break both of those loose. I did get both of those lines loose. One was finger tight. The other one had to have some heat on that thing, man. I actually think to wrestle this rack out of here, I'm gonna have to let the front subframe bolts down some and remove that bracket from beside that rack right there. It's got that 18 under it. So let me do that, and might have to get that other bracket out of there too, because it may be in the way of sliding this rack out. I got that front subframe bolt loose there about halfway. I brought this one down about 1 inch halfway. That dropped the back of this down after I removed the 2 bolts from that front engine mount. Take off the splash guard on the passenger side and take those 2 bolts loose right there out of that mount so that the subframe won't be stuck to the engine on this side, and it'll let it come down a little bit. It dropped down. I was able to get the rack low enough so that I can lift it out of this side. Again, I did remove that support bracket there, got it loose from the other side, moved the other side out. Then I was able to spin it counterclockwise to get this from out of the tunnel, and I pulled it out, held the lines up, pulled that rack out of there on the driver's side. So we are ready to go back in. I'm gonna check this bracket, make sure it's the same, ready to go back in with the replacement used rack. The one we pulled out, you can see how dark it was from leaking out of the boot over here. So this was the issue. All right, we cut the zip tab loose, and that's where all the fluid was coming out. You can see it pouring out of the boot. That rack needs to be rebuilt. They take these things loose, turn them out, rebuild them. I don't know if you can rebuild them or not. I want to guess this is a TRW rack because when I had a SMI rack, it clearly stated that it was a SMI rack. So his inner tie rod ends on this are a little better than the replacement one. When you have the rack removed and on the ground, now is the time to switch the pivoting joint over from the old rack to the new replacement rack. We're going to take the outer tie rod ends off and swap those over and go back in with this thing. The large hose, the seal looks fine. The small hose, the seal was bad. So we went to Napa and got a replacement for that small hose. Better to get the green ones, but the black ones are fine. So we're gonna go ahead and put this in, put this back together. Super extra careful you don't cross thread these lines. The rack is lifted up and shifted to the passenger side just a little bit. The holes are almost lined up. The line came around, got the bottom one in, threaded it in a few threads with my hand. Now I'm tightening it in with the wrench. After that one's tight, then I'm gonna put the top one in. Do not cross thread those lines. Slid the new one in, got it up in the air, lined up, put this bracket back in, got all 5 of the holes to drop through. These 2 here, those 2 there, and that center one there. Turn that bolt down snug. I got the bracket back in there before I got any of those bolts in there. I put that bolt on there, hadn't tightened it yet. So I'm getting ready to tighten that middle support one first after I get all 4 of the 2 on the far ends started. And let me get the rack secured to the subframe and then start raising this up slowly with the bolts and making sure that joint here goes in the hole properly when I start going up with it. Yeah, I tightened up the front 2 subframe bolts, didn't tighten them all the way. I ran them up in there, came back here, I made sure this was going in the hole, but as it was going in, it was pushing on the boot, it wouldn't flap inside. So I went inside and pushed the boot up over the end of the elbow joint, so now the point of the elbow joint is inside. And as this was coming up, I guided this bolt through that mount bracket and it is going up through there and we are looking good. I torqued all of the bolts on the bottom of the rack, all 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them. And I learned that this bump stop on the back where the angle gear can bump is missing. So I need to get another bump stop for that. So I'm gonna keep on going here. I got both outer tie rods on, tighten those down. Then I raised my subframe, put all the bolts in it, tightened it up, torqued down those bolts on the bottom of the rack. Next thing we're gonna do is fill up the reservoir for the rack, and we're going to cycle the steering wheel around a few times back and forth to bleed the air out of the rack. Start the car with the rack empty and damage this power steering pump or that rack. So fill it up, turn the wheel back and forth 5 or 6 times, top it off, do it again, top it off, make sure you get all the air out that you can before you start the car. You use the type of fluid that your manual recommends, turning it back and forth a few times, getting that fluid through there, and then we'll probably cycle that thing through back and forth. Alright, got a little bit of air there, we'll let it rest, come back, do it again, 5 minutes, come back, do it again, 5 minutes. Make sure you got enough fluid in there before you start your car. Up, we got the brace on the lines, we cycled the pump across several times, nice and quiet. Go ahead and start, turn the wheel through a few times. Alright, it's going down a little bit. All right, we're going to put the wheel on here and see how bad the alignment looks. Maybe try to align it a little bit. If they don't look too bad, we'll just leave it the way it is. All right, you need some fluid. If you made it this far, I trust that you found some information that was either useful or entertaining, so go ahead and hit the like button. And if you would like notification of future videos that I post, please subscribe to the channel. I appreciate your support. You can follow me on other social media apps by looking for @RobertDIY. Some form of that should bring up the other channels that I have on places like Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and so forth. If for some reason you need some more personal help, go to my website at robertdiy.com and use the phone number that I have posted there to send me a text message, or you can email me. If you have questions or comments, please make a comment below. And if you'd like to make some kind of financial contribution to what I got going on here, go to my channel and hit the more link at the end of the introduction statement, and it'll show you different ways that you can support me financially. Again, thanks for watching. I hope you have a great day.